Hey people, when you sitting on the bleachers at your grandkids' softball tournament, they so young they ain't got a name on their tutu yet, and your old buddy comes sit down beside you, and he says, "Who you rooting for?" The correct answer is M hats in of. M hats in of, them hats in of green, them hats in of red. M's my members, in their members. And this is, the M, them, and HAT, and they're skipping this here. This is a S, and three of them add a U to the end, and the hats was in. And then this were their hands, it's reading with this final U here, W, W-A-V, the W-A-V, and the double A is the E or the I. Them hats and waves in. And their members were their hands. And their hats and waves in. And then the final, U, reading with the B, of. And of descent, DS and ent. You see it again here, those which never rest, is the the comment. And then backwards, much, M-C-H. The comment, much, the much of her. Those which never rest. And this tells off a bunch. It's got Isis and Hera, the two major female gods, side by side. It just says under the place of his face. But an Isis here, coming after a R, just means arises here. And it usually means a woman not happy arises here. And this is going to give us a better idea of what this asterisk means in here. Arises here and sets here. That's the ancient ass trick. The sun comes out of the ass. And so I believe I'm going to replace these letters with an A-S-T or a S-T-R. One of the oldest spellings was just the A-S, like ash. And when I read this, I read this I-S-I-S, is, and the T and the O-B-I, is to be. And then the as her of it is, the is it to be, as her of it is, the queen, the one in charge, mother of God. This last line ends with, and come ave, A-I-V, aviary, the birds, the stars above, and come ave. Some people might have been reading that as the M-A-Y, May, and come May. So the reason they didn't want to associate this with Hera and Isis is because it's talking about the old drunk whore in the seats, of the top row pew. In the top row, comment much of her. Those which never rest. The Chikasta, A-S-T-A, the Chikasta, which rises, R-I-S-I-S, which rises her office, A-F-I-S-I-S, rises her office in the top row, T-P-R-U. In the top row, in the top roof, R-U-F, the top roof pew. She's all the way up in the highest pew up there, her office. And comment much of her in, fet up, fet up, F-H-E-T-E-P. And the comment much of her in fed up. Fed up top, this is the HTP up here, and this is the TP, the fed up top might, the top might, this is the ite, you see it when they say light or white, this is the same symbol, and top mighten, sieve postulator, the postule, the P-O-S-T, the postulator, enter, the postulator, upper ass, posterior, and enter, the postune, enter her, and her astle, A-S-T-L, and upper astle, and fastu, And I don't have the next page. You're going to have to look that one up. But they're in show business. They're at the show, and they're talking about the loudmouth in the top row, which is also Hera, looking over everything and commenting on what's going on Earth. But I just want to go back through here and hit a bunch of these easies to see that it was ancient English writing this. Just hit a couple of these quotes that we still use the same today. When somebody want to put some fear in you, dead ducks. I think that was Abbott and Costello used to say that. We're going to be some dead ducks. When the Majesty wants to put some fear in you, it's the pen of scent. Then sent the tax man down there on you. The pen of scent. And I read this man here, as a as and a was in his hand. As was His Majesty, is what as was what. It turns around when you hit the gods. His Majesty. In the pen of scent, what as was what. Whatever he says is what it is. And what come hats was in waves in of descent, the mason. And that's surely where the word commits comes from, the fem. And I read this as damage, D-M-A-G. I read this as a G, and you see it in symbols for earth. And in the Hebrew, it's Adama, the A-D-M-A is one of the main words they use for earth. And so this is going to be a good one to get these two here nailed down, because I'm pretty sure about everything else around it. But they usually say these are determinative, and it's usually spelled out, the three letters beside it, the NQT. And when I look at it, it looks like a goose, makes me think of honk, the NQT, honked. Which one of y'all honked? In haste to make enter, out there honking the horn. Or a O-N-T, this would read the letters on taunts, haste to make them enter. And the letters on taunster, the damage, the pen of scent. And they say this is a X, and I think a letter for 100, 1,000, something like that. And I know this is the L, and it's excels, XLS, the front part of the line, excels, to the haste, in a hurry. And excels letters on taunts it. And this up here, this is A-F-U-L, awful. And you take a fall, it's awful. And you probably shouldn't have been on top of my scaffold. It's the A-F-L, and it fits in words several ways. And it's the chiro, the XRU, the chiro, a fall, it's sendum, a fall, it's sendum, the end of its power. And so their enemies were the same as the Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible. And the chiro, a fall, it's endum. And the G, without the A this time, the endamage, the dummage, damage. And damages, panem excels. The chiro afflicts and damages, panem excels. And this Kodesh up here, this is what they give the holy ones, the priests, all through the Hebrew Bible. And you can see the word for priest here, the CHN, the con. And here they say this is fend, fent, QNT, QND, the same one as here. And so that Q can read as a F or a K, and it's the con here. And the two D's alike give it an I. And the con, desacre, S and occur. And the con, desacration, a chiro affliction. Hannah is the mother. And the chiro, the desacrate Hannah. This is defend, this occur on the crime you committed. And so the ones they're calling the holy in the Hebrew is the ones that committed the crime. So that FL in fall, is also the same FL in affliction. But it looks like they weren't liking what the Chiro government was dishing out, 5,000 years ago. And up here again, it's missing the U after the Chero, so it's just the chair of fall as cough all rich. When the chair, the czar, XR, and when the czar fall as cough, the bind, the cough all rich. And so it looks like they had an oppressive government, they've been fighting against from the beginning. It was the Chiro. And here's one, the majesty to give their hearts and minds. And it's what of the rattles in where? What of rattles in where? It's your hearts. And this hand, it's an A, and the marking it's a T, and I read this as an AT, and what of rat, and then T. Two T's give it the I, T, and then the L, the love, LB, the rattles, or the rattle best in where. It better be rattling there, you dead. The rattle best in where. To give majesty your hearts. And this is why you call a fat person a tubby. Tubbies. And they gotta be hoisted over the walls. Tubbies. Certain of the people of town they drew up by their garments to hoist them over the walls into town this. And as I look at this, this is most likely that GES in the Greek Bible that they say is the land. And the damage is Pawner, watch, WATCH, the watch. Annex, this is NEXT, next. Annexes in them. And lift them up by their garments, as damages Pawner, watched. Annexes in them. Hub, hub is the center of the city, the center of the wheel. The hub's menswear. Of their garments too is MNSWR, the menswear. They use the same word 5,000 years ago, menswear, garments. And this one for the horse here, this is the main one I wanted to show you. It's called a sesame what, and that's where the word for out of the horse's mouth come right from the old sesame what. And this doesn't say chariot. They got a plain symbol for chariot that can't be mistaken, the chariot. And so this with faces of fear they forsook is here wins in excel. There's no T here, this is just the SN. And here wins in excel. Excel means out front. If you ran out front of all the army, you face to face with them. And here wins excel, all tensin, ALTNSN, all tensin was ism what, them what is out front, and all tensin was ism what, was new, where roots, this is UR and then two more R's. RU, URRR is a URU, where roots. So it's not the chariot, but it's the road, where roots was none, was no roads. On view, ANV, and a 3 is U, on view. And the roots was none on view, was no roads to see. And here ought, the A, and this is a UT, and sometimes they pronounce it it, as in light and white. That's the same letter they'll use. It's where they get the silver, silver is white. Where roots was none of view. Here ought in view. Attach on its, draw up with strings, attach on its, to set. From tub next. And you know, they say the Egyptian soul, you know, they went to cats. And that's what this says here. This missing letter is a swastika. That's what they scratched out. And the issue of has of her, you know, protecting his body. An issue of has of her to TIW is to shape the next W. And then this is the same word in the Hebrew for your wife, you know, as took. This, and this is where the swastika comes from. You know, what we call a swastika is actually just a as took. Means a man and a woman, you know, and two, and shape next was two, as took, ASTUK, and then ATS was to cats of, the cats of fetching. And this is that word in the Hebrew they give behind, a hurry. You know, when you're behind, you're in a hurry. They changed it to before here. And this is that XL out front. And what offers sure excel? What offers sure out front? The majesty of it before his. And this for behold had shut the gates, you know. This is the penist, you know, a penal colony. The penis, the jail. And drawing up the degraded and abominable men, the fall, what's as in. The fall, what's as in. And that's coming from the metallic rust attaches next to the fall, what's in. I gotta get this one off the cutting block. It's jamming up my computer. But I got a great one coming on ISIS some more and show you how I figure out what this means.
Don't forget. Hooty hoot, hooty hoot. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm gonna cut this off here. Good day.